Hello and welcome to RGU Talk, the official podcast of Robert Gordon University. I'm your host, Johnny Milne, and with me this week is just about one of the loveliest people you're ever likely to meet, or failing that, hear her voice through your headphones. It is the head of the RGU Women's Network, Alison Watson. Alison, welcome to RGU Talk.
Thank you, Johnny. That's a lovely introduction, and happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
Johnny
you.
is, in fact, everyone 30 today.
Yes, on the date of recording, I am now officially an old man. It is
Well, I
delightful.
don't know what that makes me then. A very old woman.
I was saying, definitely not an old man. Well, Alison, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you, Johnny. I've survived the snow and the blizzards to make it here today, and it's lovely to talk to you.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted to have you. Well, in addition to your role as head of the RGU Women's Network, what is your actual day job here at the university, and what does that involve?
Okay, so my title actually is Business Intelligence Implementation Manager. That's an awful long mouthful. I am in charge of a project which is implementing brand new software to the university to develop our business intelligence capacity. Business intelligence systems allow people to get access to a wider range of data and to analyse this much more easily and readily to gain meaningful insight so they can make better business decisions. At the moment, we are working with colleagues in relation to student data, and then we will be moving to other data sources across the university next year. So we'll be looking at finance, HR, library, all sorts of other information sources all around the university.
So far more important than my job of sending out tweets and writing to the media.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but actually what we might be able to do is give you some more interesting material for your tweets and your contributions to the media, because one of the things that we're obviously wanting to do is point out where we do well as a university.
Absolutely.
And where we serve our students and our staff well. So, yeah, that's all part of it.
Fantastic. Well, we're recording this in advance of International Women's Day, which is on Thursday the 8th of March, and hopefully this episode will be airing on that day. So welcome in the future when you're listening to us. How busy have you and the RGU Women's Network been in arranging events on campus?
Yeah, we've been really busy putting together some events to mark International Women's Day. What we try and do each year is actually have a week of celebrations.
Okay.
So it's a really big part of the Women's Network calendar, although we do events all the way through the year. This year we are kicking off with a joint session with the Language and Culture Network at RGU, and we're going to be looking at women's suffrage around the world, so the different points in time that women gained the vote, and also when they were able to stand in Parliament. We have an enormously varied academic staff and students from hundreds of different countries, so we're hoping to get as many of them together as possible to share what happens in their home countries. And then on Wednesday the 7th, we're delighted to have Vicky Nairn coming to speak to the RGU network. Vicky is the most senior female employee in the university. She is Vice Principal for University Operations. She has a career that spans many different industries. In fact, I think this is one of the first times that she's worked in the public sector, and she's very generous with giving her views about how she came to this position and the challenges and experiences that she's had along the way. So we're really delighted that she's been able to give that time. And then, of course, on the day itself, so the day that this is airing, we have an evening lecture by Professor Sarah Pedersen, who I believe has been another one of your interviews on this
Sarah
podcast.
Will be on soon, yeah.
And Sarah is going to reprise her Scottish suffragettes talk that she has done in various locations around Scotland. She was awarded a research grant to look into this particular area, which furthers research that she's done already, and all of her talks have been sellouts.
Absolutely.
So we are delighted to offer staff and students the opportunity to listen to Sarah at that lecture that starts at 6 p.m. on the 8th.
Well, I absolutely hope that all of those are, very, very well attended. For anyone who is listening in and may not be fully aware, can you tell us just a bit more about International Women's Day as a whole?
Yeah, International Women's Day is celebrated all over the world. And I was actually doing some research into this myself to try and find out about the history of it. So International Women's Day was actually an idea that started with a lady in Germany in the early 1900s. It involves all sorts of different agencies, from governments to private organisations, charities, all sorts of different women's organisations around the world. And it's celebrated in different ways. So I discovered, much to my interest, that in China, Madagascar and Nepal, International Women's Day is a public holiday for women.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it's also celebrated in ways that are kind of similar to Mother's Day in some countries. So, for example, in Poland, it is celebrated by men giving their significant women in their lives, so wives, girlfriends, friends, sisters, small gifts.
Oh, lovely.
Yes. So anytime you want to adopt
Start
that
doing
tradition, then feel free. So in the UK, it's much more about women getting together to discuss ideas for pushing for change and pushing for equality. And it's also about marking the contribution and celebrating the contribution that women make to society. So you'll see it marked in all sorts of political arenas. And in Aberdeen, there are several events going on. The Aberdeen Women's Alliance is celebrating. There's actually a civic reception that the City Council is holding to mark the centenary of partial suffrage for women, because obviously that dovetails really neatly in with International Women's Day this year. So yes, it's marked in lots and lots of different ways.
And onto the RGU Women's Network specifically, when was it formed, and how many members do you have at the moment, active members?
So the network was formed at the beginning of 2016.
Okay.
The network exists to do three things primarily. We want to provide opportunities for female staff to meet and network. We have staff right across the campus. As you know, it's a very linear campus. And we have academic staff, we have professional support staff. So the network exists for all of those members of staff to get together. We want to provide opportunities for self-development and career development for women. And we also try and mark the achievements of women in the university and their contribution towards the success of Robert Gordon University. We started in a really small way, just with a few interested people, and it's gradually grown by word of mouth.
Okay.
We have around 150 members.
Wow.
Now, obviously not all of those come to all of our events, and actually that is quite a small proportion of the number of women who actually work at RGU, and we have room for plenty more. So if any women at RGU are listening to this and would like to join the network, then please contact me and we'd be delighted to see you.
Absolutely. I mean, and you mentioned that, you're one of the reasons the network exists, and one of your aims is to celebrate the successes and the contributions of women at RGU. Anyone who spent any time on campus will have seen the posters and brochures around the place celebrating women at RGU, and there have been dozens of academics and staff featured so far with their profiles. Vicky Nairn, you mentioned earlier, Chloe Bruce as well from the alumni team, Annette Davidson from the Disability Services. How do you choose who to feature so far, and is it going to continue going forward?
Yeah, I am really proud of the Celebrating Women series, and as you're right, we have featured a whole range of women working across the university at all different levels. So we started off featuring women who work in STEM subjects, so science, technology, engineering and maths. We then moved on to celebrating the women who participate in Aurora, which is a public sector women-only leadership and management training course. And then we moved to women who are working in academic disciplines alongside the STEM subjects. And finally, we have done an addition to celebrate professional and support staff. So the way we choose people, we always go for people who are members of the network first.
Okay.
And then we almost have to really twist their arms because nobody wants to have their photograph taken.
Absolutely.
And just like I didn't want to do this interview really, but you forced me.
I did. I'll give you chocolates after.
We have to do the same thing. So it's actually a very gentle process. So all of the words are written. Well, they're put together by the individual, but Sarah Pedersen will then act as editor and will give them final copy approval. And also everybody is able to approve their photographic images. So yeah, that's been the biggest problem, that people haven't wanted to have their photographs taken. The other point that's really important about the Celebrating Women series is that although we only choose specific women, it's not actually just about those specific women. It actually marks the strength and depth of the female workforce at Robert Gordon University. So they're representative of something bigger as well. In terms of whether it will continue, well, watch this space. We'll have to see.
Okay, I will accept that. I mean, it's been incredibly successful so far, because am I right in thinking last year it was the Celebrating Women at RGU publications were even commended in Parliament. So, I mean, that must have been a fantastic feeling. Yeah,
it was absolutely fantastic, and really quite unexpected as well. So it came as a fantastic surprise. That was all down to one of the very active members of the network, a lady called Morag McFadyen, who works in pharmacy and life sciences. And yes, it was commended in the Scottish Parliament and received many cross-party commendations. It was a really nice way to have that marked, and it got such a lot of positive publicity for the university in all sorts of different ways. So it's been marked as part of the Equality Challenge Unit, which runs Aurora and other events. It's been picked up by all sorts of news agencies. It's been very, very positive.
Now, speaking of the network, I think it's fair to say that there are women, not only at the university but across the country, across the globe, that do see their workplace simply as a job and don't get involved in these kind of networks, these kind of groups. What was it that made you want to step up and lead the network?
That's an interesting question, and the honest answer is it was sheer frustration. I had been involved in work that was going on in the university around developing something called the Athena SWAN application. And for people who don't work in the university, that will be a complete mystery. But basically, it is a national award which marks the fair treatment of women in the workplace. And it isn't just about women, actually. It is about gender equality, and it also covers LGBT and the way that those people are treated. And it was just frustration, really, that we got our first application rejected. We had done so much work on it, and there was a lot of talk about a women's network. At that point, we had an LGBT plus network that was small but was working really well. So I just decided to have some conversations around the place and see if anybody else had the appetite to set up a network, because it can't possibly be done by one person. And I found those colleagues, and we started, as I said, in a really small way in 2016, and things have grown since then. And it's been a great journey. Everything that we do is on a voluntary basis from people that work within the university. So we run a monthly event, and that is normally hosted by somebody who is sharing their experience or their skills. And we try and respond to the requirements of women working in the university as best we can. We're always looking for new recruits. We're always looking for people who are interested in helping, because the last thing we want is for it to become the same old boring things that are set up by the same people. My stint as chair comes to an end in July, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I look forward to the network's future success in future years. And
I'm absolutely convinced that it will continue to grow, because, as I say, it's been so successful so far. In your eyes, what more, I know this is a big question to end with, but what more do you think ordinary women and men can do in their everyday lives, not just in the workplace, but to really continue that press for equality progress, nationwide?
Yeah, that is a big question.
I have to throw one at you right at the end.
That is a bit of that is a big question. So I'm not a militant. I'm not particularly political, but I do believe in fairness and in fairness of opportunity. And I don't think that this is an issue that is one about women alone. There are lots of groups in society that face similar challenges and discriminations. I think one of the things that I would urge people to do is to be careful and consider their unconscious biases. We all grow up in environments and with cultures that shape the way in which we look at the world around us. And unless we're careful about that, that can continue to perpetuate those behaviours and those myths. So one of the things that really frustrates me is, for example, all male interview panels. It's not going to be very easy for us to get us to a situation where we can actually move forward and not have men dominating the most senior levels of organisations if the interview panels are all men. And just simple things. I was talking to a colleague this morning who is female and who works part-time. The majority of the people who work at the university on a part-time basis are women. By no means all, but the majority of them are. And she was telling me that there was a big departmental meeting that had been organised, and it was organised on a day that she doesn't work.
Got you.
And so she either misses that and therefore misses out on that opportunity to contribute and to hear what is happening. It's actually about learning and teaching development, so it's really important. Or she has to go away and work out really complex arrangements to swap her days. And I'm not wanting to make this sound like a women's issue, actually. There are lots of men in this position. Again, I was talking to somebody at the end of last week who has caring responsibilities for an elderly parent and who is absolutely run ragged with that and is doing their best to keep all of the balls up in the air. And when a colleague said to them, "Why didn't you come to the evening social event last week?" It's really hard to maintain a polite response, really, when so many things are going on. So it's a very small thing, but let's just have a think about that and how it affects other people.
Well, on that, Alison Watson, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Johnny.
And thank you for listening at home, in the office, on the bus or train, wherever you may be. That's it for another edition of RGU Talk. On behalf of the university, I've been Johnny Milne, and we'll talk to you later.